What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday. 10 days until draft day, Eric. The draft will be here in 10 days. I can't believe it. Time has been flying. I said that on the last intro, but it's really starting to kick in that this is like the last full week of potential pre-draft workouts. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the first trade. That's really kind of what set it in for me, was that first trade with Denver and OKC. The 30th pick gets traded. Funnily enough, in my mock draft that I still need to post, I had Denver getting that 30th pick, so maybe I'm feeling it in terms of the trades in this one. I don't know. Anyway, what's going on, man? I've been running around all day just trying to collect myself. How's your day been?
Oh, it's been all right. My Beavs unfortunately fell short in their attempt to make the College World Series, but other than that, it's been a good day.
Awesome. Yeah, sucks for the Beavers, man. But they'll probably be back. That's kind of the one sport you guys got, unfortunately. So sucks that you couldn't pull through. But shout out to David Yu, $8 dono. It's been a good day for David. He says, just got a big promotion at my job today. Super happy. Looking forward to all the off-season content, guys. Thank you, David. Congrats on the promotion,
Congrats,
man.
David.
And thank you for your dono. Anyway, where do you want to start off with this thing, Eric? Eric usually, for those of you who don't know, Eric usually gives me a bunch of topics, and then we kind of dive in to what he wants to talk about. So Eric gave me a few different things, and I'm curious to see where you want to start with this, Eric.
Well, let's start with something I didn't give you, and that's the finals. Let's just get that out of the way so we don't have to talk about it anymore.
I'm bummed out about that. I'm just going to say that right now. The Celtics, for whatever reason, can't score down the stretch, and it's been their Achilles heel in this finals.
Yep. And then, yeah, Game 6, you got Game 6 Clay, so seemingly over, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's over, but
I know, just
the Warriors started off this game well. They were up 51-39 at halftime. Then Boston goes on a run to tie it early in the third quarter. They came out of halftime firing, but that was pretty much all they had as Golden State pulls away in the fourth quarter. Steph kind of struggled, but Boston was selling out on stopping him. It helped open up opportunities for other guys, and they capitalized. Klay Thompson finally shot well. Wiggins had a good game, and that's basically what it is for Golden State. Boston, meanwhile, just can't hit shots down the stretch. It's been, I don't know if it's something Golden State's doing. I don't know if the moment's too big for them. As I said, going into the series, they don't have anybody with finals experience. So I feel like the moment's kind of gotten to them a little bit, and maybe Golden State's experience is helping them get through some of these high-pressure situations where Boston has struggled.
Yeah, I also got PTSD during this game. Watching Smart when you know he's about to melt down and do something stupid, it just gives me flashbacks of when that used to happen all the time with Rasheed Wallace. And you just know it's going to happen. You know once he has a call go against him or the refs miss a call or something, he's just going to not let it go. And it's a tease going to happen in the next few minutes no matter what occurs. And he absolutely melted down in the middle of a very important stretch when it was still, I think, a 2-point game at the time. And he probably cost his team a championship with his antics just for a couple minutes of just being, I mean, even if you were fouled or whatever, it's just, you just can't lose your cool like that in the middle of a game.
Yeah, him and Jaylen Brown as well. Jaylen Brown 5 for 18. He had a stretch.
Had a couple turnovers.
Like back-to-back turnovers. And then, no, there's a stretch of 3 possessions. He drove, got it stripped. Drove, lost the ball pretty much, it seemed like, on his own. And then, very next possession, he drives again. I don't know if unconditional confidence is good or bad for Jaylen Brown, but he had a stretch there late in this game where he just was a turnover machine. I'm trying to find the exact game log because there's just a stretch where he was really, really bad, missing a couple threes, missing a layup, missing a free throw. He had it all there in the fourth quarter in terms of some of his struggles.
Yeah, we had such a good game last game too. It's tough, yeah.
Yep. Shout out to Caleb Pendergraft, $5 dono. He says, oh, I'll talk about that in a second, Caleb. That's something that I wanted to bring up on stream, but not yet. So thank you for the $5 dono. I'll shout you out now, but then I'll read off the message when I get to it, and it's going to be a teaser for the mock draft with trade. Since you guys are here, you guys get the teaser for that video, and I'm curious to see what you guys have to think about this. Anyway, so Boston, going back to Boston for Game 6, I'm hoping this series goes 7. I'm rooting for the Celtics, but I think it would be a terrific Game 7 in Golden State. Golden State's been there before and lost to Cleveland, so, it would kind of be a similar choke job. It wouldn't be choking a 3-1 lead, but they're up 3-2 with the Game 7 at home. Boston has to beat them twice in a row, and they haven't shown that they can do that in this series, obviously. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. Golden State's going to take care of this. I think Boston needed to win Game 4. I think that was kind of what turned the series. They're up 2-1 going into Game 4, and they started off very fast in Game 4 and then struggled down the stretch. Golden State steals it, steals back home court advantage, and that crowd tonight was a difference maker. Electric atmosphere, as it usually is this time of year in Oakland or San Francisco now. So Game 6, Boston's I think going to be ready for that. I think they win Game 6, and I think this goes 7, but I mean, I can't bet against Golden State in a Game 7 at home.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to beat them twice in a row, but hopefully Boston can come back and at least make it a Game 7, like you said.
Yep, agreed. Anything else, Eric?
No, let's move on to more fun stuff. Right.
What? Yeah, exactly. What you got next for us? Or should I do the Caleb thing now?
You can talk about that. Yeah.
Okay, so I had a question on Twitter, and I was curious what the results were going to be. And Caleb Pendergraft's $5 dono is literally what I asked on Twitter. He says, number 7, 3 future firsts, a future first-round pick swap, Nasir Little and Keon Johnson for Jeremy Grant, Lou Dort, and OG Anunoby. Would you guys do that? I did a Twitter poll with 3 options. I should have just made it 2 so that you guys actually had to make a decision. But it was Nas, Keon, 3 future firsts, number 7, and a future first pick swap. Obviously, I didn't include the protections in there, but basically 28% of you said you'd do it so far. 27% of you said like kind of in the middle, and then 45% of you said no. Eric, I feel like I already know where you lie in that camp, but would you, just knowing what you're giving up and getting back, would you do it?
I'm in the heck no category. That's way too much. I'm not touching our future like that. I'm not gonna give up our entire post-game era just to get that kind of team. Now, if we're talking maybe Siakam instead, or someone like that, a certified all-star level player, that might change my mind. But for the players that you said to bring in, considering that Dort, I know you had the minutes breakdown and you got him some minutes, but there's not a ton of minutes for him if we don't play hard exclusively at small forward. And then there's, I don't know, I just don't feel like OG and Jeremy Grant is enough to mortgage the entire future for.
Yeah, and I bring that up because I think that is like the front office's all-out plan, and I'll show you how they could possibly get it done in the mock draft that I'll upload probably in the middle of the night. The graphics are a lot, and then I kind of switched up some things, but it just raises a conversation for me where at what point are you confident enough that what you're getting back can turn you into a contender, and if it can turn you into contender now, is it okay if it's an overpay? That's I think the conversation, because you know me, I'm not one for overpaying at all. Mm-hmm. But at some point, if you have to give up a ton to turn yourself into a contender, obviously if you don't turn yourself into a contender, then it's very, very bad. Going all in with all your assets on a team that doesn't make you a contender is a terrible move. That's why I haven't wanted Jeremy Grant for number 7. That basically be going all in on a guy that doesn't make you a contender. But at what point, like, because I think that's the argument with that sort of lineup, that you could make a pretty good case that if you added those 3 guys to the rotation, that it could be a contending level team just because of the defense you add. Jeremy Grant's better off ball than on ball, but you got Lou Dort you bring in as a point of attack defender. You bring in OG Anunoby as well, providing a little bit more size, and then you got Josh Hart. Is it good enough defensively? Offensively, I don't have any questions about that for the most part. Defensively, is it good enough that makes the team a contender, and therefore it's okay to give all that up? That's kind of the question in the conversation I think that sort of scenario brings up, which is why I tweeted it out.
Yeah. In my opinion, if you're giving that much stuff up, you better be getting back. I'd rather just have like one, like a Durant level player or something. Like, I know that's not possible, but like, you know what I mean? Like that, giving up the number 7 pick along with 3 future firsts and some young talent. I mean, that's like a trade that you would see for a superstar. So I'm not accepting 3 role players, one of which the best one of the 3 has only played 45 games the last 2 years or something like that. So I'm not risking it all for that level of player. That's just how I would do it. But
is it
I understand
not similar?
The mindset.
Yeah, is it not similar to what Milwaukee gave up for Drew Holiday though?
Well, Milwaukee already had a big 2 though, right? And they needed their 3rd guy for that, right? So they went all in on, Giannis. Let's not dance around it. Giannis is, if not the best player in the NBA, at least top 3. So Dame's not quite in the Giannis category, and Middleton is better than any player that Dame has played with the exception of maybe Aldridge early in his career. So in my opinion, they had the roster already to make that one move for that one guy that was the right piece. But even with that, they're a toenail away from losing in the second round and not winning a championship, and Phoenix fans that are in here, but they were up 2-0 in the finals on them as well. They were already a contender before that trade and should have already been maybe winning titles without Drew. So I felt like that move was just the move to put them over the top. Whereas we're hoping to go from a non-playoff team to a contending team by making these trades and bringing in 3 role players. I just don't see it.
Do you not think that's a contending team?
It's a very good team, but they don't have any way to get better because you're locking your roster into those guys, you know what I mean? And we'll talk about that with Denver in a minute. But
I just feel like even if we're patient with Dame, I'm not confident that we'll put together a better team than that would be.
Yeah. I don't know. If you hit on number 7, that could be better than any of those 3 players we traded for. So, and we wouldn't have to give up the future for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. OG Anunoby is, 24 years old, 25, right around there. Jeremy Grant resigns long-term. He's still, 27, 28? You still got Ant long-term. Trent Watford, I think, is a piece long-term. It would just be you'd have to get a little bit creative down the line with retaining your level of depth because I think... Lou Dort is still very young as well. He's 23, I believe. He's barely 23, and then Josh Hart is Josh Hart's barely 27. So I feel like that would give you a window with that group of guys for probably 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. Once Dame's starting on a downward trend, and hopefully Ant's entering his prime, and hopefully he's, sky's the limit for that kid. So hopefully he can replace maybe some of the production that we lose with Dame starting his decline. And, and then you just try and make creative little small moves around that. I wouldn't hate that if that was our off season. I don't know if I do it. I would vote like I'm kind of in the middle there. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I don't think it's. I could see both sides of the argument on that one.
Mm-hmm. And for those just joining us, so Tori brought up the idea of getting our first back from Chicago, moving down from 7 to OKC, and then trading number 7 and 3 future firsts, and basically ending up with Lou Dort, OG Anunoby, and Jeremy Grant out of it, and also trading Keon and Nas and a bunch of other players. But here's my thing. We've tried the buy high route, and it hasn't really worked. And then we gave those players away for nothing. So I want to be on the end of the receiving end of getting good value for players and trades. So I'm not overpaying for like a guy like OG Anunoby. I think number 7 is the most I'd trade for him. So if you can get OG for number 7, great. So I would go that route maybe. If you could get... Now, Jeremy Grant kind of falls into both categories because he could force away, like we talked about on the show before, maybe tell other teams he's not willing to re-sign an extension and kind of lower his value, and we could maybe get away with a couple future firsts or something and get him, and or maybe a future first and 36 and multiple seconds or something like that. So I would rather... I'd be okay with buying low on Jeremy Grant as long as we're not overpaying for 7, like you said. And I would be fine with getting OG without giving up all those future firsts. So if it was just number 7, and then we got those 2 players, and then, I mean, I know that doesn't leave us with Dort, but that does leave us with the 2 most important parts of that trade.
Yeah. I mean, part of your argument is we've bought on, Rocco and Norm. Before that, though, we were kind of sticking with it and waiting for the right CJ trade and maybe passed up opportunities that we should have taken. I mean, it just has to be for the right guy, and it has to get us to contention. That is the main thing. In my opinion, if this team can get to contention level in the next year or 2, I don't care what we give up. If we can become a contender in the next year or 2 with Dame, then I don't really care what else we give up. I'd of course love to keep certain guys, and I think we should keep certain guys to try and get there. However, I just that's basically this thing. If it's something that doesn't get us to contention, then we need to try and position ourselves better for the long term. But if it's something that gets us to contention, then that's the main thing that I want out of this offseason.
I just don't see why it would take 3 future firsts in addition to number 7 to get there. You know what I mean?
I just think I don't think 7's enough for Anunoby. I don't think 7's enough for Anunoby.
So 3 firsts instead.
I mean, that's the thing. If we put that lineup together and we're trading a first next year, it's probably a very late first. I don't know. I mean, part of the trade package, and I'm not trying to advocate for the trade package. I'm just trying... Honestly, when I was coming up with this, I was thinking, okay, what would Cronin do? What would Cronin do?
You're actually talking like you consider it, though. But
I mean, if it gets us to contention, you have to consider it, I think. If it's something that gets us to contention next year, you have to consider it. And I think that team could be a contender. I don't know, though.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like, I will do whatever it takes for a contender, but I also don't see why you have to overpay for not even like elite players to do that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. It's just for me, like, at some point, being a contender next year, it becomes more important than like how much you're giving up. You want to try and get the best value possible, especially after we gave away guys for pennies on the dollar. But as I said before, you're chasing a known commodity. And this is the argument that I made against Cronin when he was selling guys, is you're the one selling the player. to 29 other teams. Mm-hmm. You have the commodity. So even if you're in a weird position, you still have the leverage because that's a commodity that, some combination of 29 teams is going to have interest in. It works the other way around for OG Anunoby. It works the other way around for potentially Jeremy Grant as well. And that's where it's like, in order to get that roster, I feel like we'd probably be sitting here saying we overpaid. And I don't know. Like, I don't want... If we overpay and we don't get to contention, it's a terrible situation. If we do get to contention, I can be okay with that. It's just what roster could get you to contention is kind of the key piece there, because Olshey thought Norman Powell and Robert Covington got you to contention. Obviously, it didn't. Obviously, trading 2 firsts for Robert Covington was a mistake, so it just has to be the right players. Yeah. If we got an OG and a Dort, I'd be more okay with Grant. It's just we need, obviously, forwards that can defend at the point of attack, that can defend on the ball. And OG Anunoby, and Dort's undersized, plays a little bit bigger than he is. So, I mean, like, that's the one guy that I don't really want out of those 3, but Dame wants him, and he also wants OG, and he also wants Grant. Those are 3 guys that Dame likes. So, in terms of trying to predict what Cronin might do, if he could sell out for those 3 guys, I feel like he would. But, I mean, basically at the end of the day, it comes back to, can you put together a contention-level team on the floor next year, and is that worth potentially overpaying if you can get to contention? I think that's pretty much the conversation for me. So, somebody said the depth on that team would suck. I think the depth would be fine. You would sign a backup center for the MLE. You'd play Simons as the backup point guard. You'd stagger Simons, Lillard, and Hart as the 3 guards, and then for the 3-4, or Dort, and then for the 3 forwards, you stagger OG, Jeremy Grant, and Hart or Dort. OG plays some backup 4. I think he has the size to play 4 with the bench lineup. It might be a little bit undersized, but I think it'd be fine with the way the NBA is going. And then you'd have Nurkic in an MLE backup center, and then you could try and resign Ingles. You could have Watford, Justice Winslow. You still have some guys, maybe buy a second-round pick. There could be a solid undrafted signing like we had last year with Watford. So I think the depth would be fine. It's definitely an overpay. If you can get OG for less, absolutely. But I just wanted to bring that up because we always talk about asset value and like not overpaying and whatnot. But we don't. I don't know. We haven't really talked about a scenario where it's like, okay, would this specific team get us to contention? And it's actually maybe a debate. It's all like, oh, we could get this piece. It doesn't get us far enough. So, I think the calculation becomes a little bit different if it's a team that is or could very realistically be a contender. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. Just a thought exercise, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I had something I was going to respond with, but I forgot. So just
sorry.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. It's all good. I don't know. I'd almost rather take a chance on a guy who's not necessarily has high value. Like, rather than give up 3 firsts, I'd rather go for like a John Collins or something. And I'm not really high on Collins either.
I don't. I wouldn't want John Collins. I've advocated more for John Collins in the past than you have.
No, I know, but I'm saying if it's the difference between just giving up 7 and getting Collins or whatever, and giving up like eight firsts and whatever you're talking about, like, I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit.
1,000%. If the other option doesn't get us to contention, like if OG, Dort, and Grant don't get us to contention, then I 1,000% agree with you.
I don't think that team's good enough.
See, but earlier in the offseason, you said just adding Jabari or Chet would get us to contention. Or could get us to contention.
Well, I think both of those guys are better than any of those players we're bringing in.
Than all 3 of them collectively?
Yeah. I think you need...
I
think you need higher end talent. Like, I don't know. I think that's been the problem. We have collective talent. The Blazers have had several teams that are good collectively. A couple teams that got the third seed, one team that made the conference finals. I just think we need I think if we're going to go all in on the future, it needs to be like a top 20-ish player that is like a bona fide, second star to Dame, if that's how much we're giving up.
I don't know who that Chet fan in the world, and I don't agree with him being the piece that gets us to contention over those three collectively. Because for me, the equation is a little like it's top end talent, but offensively, I think Dame plus Simons could be enough top end talent if you just get good role players around them offensively to fit in. And then the conversation becomes, okay, that's probably a top 5 offensive team or a borderline top 5 offensive team. The conversation becomes, can the defense just be good enough? Like, I don't have worries with the offense, especially with Chauncey coaching it. I think it'll be harder to stop in the playoffs, and you got Dame and Ant, and I think Dame's going to be fine coming back. And then, if you just had solid offensive players around him, we've seen teams like that be really freaking good offensively. So then the calculation becomes, can it be above average defensively? So that team I could see being above average defensively. So that's...
Well, I mean, I bet on the record as saying that Ant is better than, or going to be better than Zach LaVine, and I forgot who else I said, but was it Beal or somebody? But yeah. So I think,
yeah, which is funny because Spencer's saying I'm overvaluing our talent, which I am the one who wants to do. I mean, I don't want to do it, but I sound like I'm advocating for it, but I'm more open to swinging big for a bunch of guys like that. I feel like I'm not overvaluing our talent.
But that's my point is, if that is the case, I just don't see why we wouldn't give up less and just give OG and Jeremy then and just skip Dort, because if we have Dame and a superstar Ant, I don't really think we need Dort. I'm fine with Hart being the third.
I 1000% agree with that. Dort is just, I don't know, like, I feel like Dort is going to be a part of the equation, basically. And so that's why I throw that out there, is I know some people like him. I'm not as super high on him for this team. So, yeah, I'd rather give up less and or keep Nas. I'd rather have Nas than Dort, to be honest, but I feel like Dort's part of the equation. So a lot of it was just what I think the organization might want and where they might want to go with this offseason. So I'm not necessarily advocating for the whole entire package. It's just more of a mental thought exercise is kind of basically what I'm trying to put it forward as anyway.
And I just want to say this for the record. Masai Ujiri is a good GM. He is not going to say anything that goes against him leveraging and pumping up his players' value as much as possible. He's not that dumb. He's not as dumb as some GMs we've had that seemingly let it out there that they're looking to move certain players and they get out leveraged and are basically fighting against themselves the whole time trying to trade people. He's doing it the right way, saying OG's not available, even though there's rumors he's unhappy and is potentially going to request a trade. It's not going to come out publicly that he's going to trade OG. He's going to continue to say, no, he loves OG and he's not going to be traded. That's how good GMs operate. They don't lose that leverage in deals. So don't, just because he's saying that, I mean, he told DeMar DeRozan he wasn't going to trade him and then traded him a week later. So it doesn't mean anything what he's saying. If it comes down to it, I don't know if last second deal, number 7 for OG, do you want to take it? I don't know if he's saying no to that. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting case study. And this kind of leads me into the theory I wanted to bring up, if that's okay with you, Tori.
No, I brought up this conversation knowing that this would be a good segue.
Do you know what the theory is? Did you read it?
I read parts of it, and Yeah, I want to hear you explain it in
All right.
words. Get a little better grip of it myself.
So here's my theory, because I've been wondering, why have we only worked out 5 players? Like, I know we've worked out more than that, but we've only worked out 5 players that would be in contention for the number 7 pick, right?
Yep, and we've worked out probably 0
And,
players that would be in contention for 36.
I think that's probably number only 4, because I don't think we're taking Eason it.
Yeah.
So I think it might only be 4. But let's just say we've worked out 5 players, and those 5 players are Daniels, Duran, Matherin, Eason, and I'm forgetting someone. Chat can help me out here. So
you said Duran, Eason, Matherin, Daniels,
Griffin, AJ Griffin. Yeah.
Griffin, yeah.
So thanks, chat. So those are the only 5 guys that are even going to be first round picks that we've worked out. Now that we've worked out a ton of other guys, but they're all like maybe our 57th pick. But most of the guys we've worked out other than that have been like guys who aren't even going to be drafted, which makes no sense to me. So I was running this around in my head, like, why have we only worked out those 5? Like, why aren't we working out more players? And then I saw the stuff today about how OKC has basically gone all in on Shaden Sharp, but they're not going to take him at 2. I don't believe they're going to. So I think what is happening, my theory is we have a trade, or maybe multiple trades, on the table that are all contingent on certain players being available at that spot. And we only worked out players that we would have to choose from if those players aren't on the board, and we have to keep the pick, if that makes sense. So someone like Shaden Sharp, if he's on the board at 7, we already have a deal in place with OKC, most likely, to where they get 7 and Sharp, and we're moving down. Because why else aren't we not working out Sharp? You know, like, I mean, I guess we still could.
Yeah.
But like that's part of the thing. Or, you know, maybe there's several guys that Toronto wants, or maybe just like 2 guys that Toronto wants, and they're like, okay, we do 7 for OG if one of these 2 players is on the board. Let's say like Keegan Murray or something. And so like if he falls to 7, which I don't think he will be, but it's just an example, and then we make that trade, I just think there's some things that are contingent on that, because otherwise it makes no sense why we wouldn't have like 10 guys in for workouts that are all capable of being that pick, and why we haven't worked out a single prospect in that 36 range.
I mean, I think that's very plausible at 36. I still think it's early. I still think it's too early to make that judgment in regards to 7, because you still have like a whole week probably of pre-draft workouts. And Casey Holdall said that we have more workouts coming soon. Like Charlie in chat, I don't know how accurate this is. He says Sharp just had his first workout with Charlotte, which is weird. Why was it with Charlotte? But because they're at 13 and 15, so I don't understand that. So there is some fishy things. So I think it's a very plausible theory. I would put more stock in it if we were closer to the draft, whereas like right now, I mean, I feel like we could be talking about this and then Sharp works out for us 2 days from now, you know?
Yeah, that's possible. And in my opinion, even if we do work him out, it's good. I never get this, because as a GM, Cronin just signed a 4-year deal, right? So he's going to be around for a while. You start profiles on players right now in this process. So like, even if you don't draft a player, if you have a chance to trade for someone, you can refer back to this workout you had as part of the equation of if he fits your team or not, or, oh, I got to talk to him, see him work out. He seemed like a good guy, seemed like he would fit, or not. So to me, we're doing a huge disservice to our ability to scout players, to see future trades, future free agent signings, stuff like that. I don't understand why we wouldn't just work out as many players that want to come in right now. I mean, what else are we doing right now? Like, why not? Even if we were planning on trading all our picks, like in the scenario you brought up, like even if that was the plan, we're going to trade 4 future firsts, so it doesn't really matter anymore who we pick. Do the due diligence on every player, get as many players in for a workout right now, and I mean, it kind of sucks for the player to lead them on if you already know you're trading that pick, but they don't have to know that necessarily.
Yeah. I just think, I mean, we could have 4, 5, 6 guys, in the first round in for workouts in the next week.
Yeah, it's true, but I mean, we had a workout on Saturday. Did you even hear about it?
There was some no-name guys, huh?
I think like the biggest name was like Keon Ellis and Kinjo,
Yeah.
and like yeah, it was
Oh,
like I
yeah,
said,
I heard Kinjo worked out.
it was like basically like I said, undrafted, maybe into the second round guys. But yeah, I don't know why we're not seemingly doing more workouts. But I don't,
Yeah.
like I said, it could change, but um, I just get the feeling we're approaching this like we already know we're not keeping some of these picks.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If your theory is true, then I could almost guarantee it's 12 and Dort for 7.
Well, what about this? Because I saw this floated around from this was actually OKC fans and reporters talking about this. So OKC gives us 12 and a couple of like not very good future first. Like they have Denver's first next year or whatever, and they also have Detroit's highly protected first the next couple years.
Yeah.
So we get instead of Dort, we get like 12 and or honestly, because this in my theory, we're not working out anyone for 12. I mean, that might change if we bring in Sohan or whatever, but like other than Easton, who have we worked out? Maybe Griffin if he falls. But we're not bringing in like an Ousmane Dieng and like those kind of guys. Like, so maybe we're planning on trading the 12th pick for Grant, or we already have a deal that is part of that deal and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if the number 12 pick was necessarily in it. It might be all future picks, and we might be moving a bunch of picks, future picks for some of these players, and we wouldn't have to get our own future first in those deals.
I just don't see us having enough future picks to make a swing past Grant.
Because if we got 2 future firsts in the OKC trade, and then we traded Detroit back there first and the Milwaukee first, or what the other first we get in the OKC deal, we could conceivably get Grant without giving up. We'd just be moving down to 12 and keeping one of our future firsts and getting Grant. I mean, I don't really want to do that, but I don't know. That's not like a huge cost to get Grant, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, that's possible. There's something that I can promise you that there's some sort of contingency idea that's being heavily talked about or has already kind of been decided upon, depending on where certain guys are.
Even if we trade, like, let's say we traded 7 for 12 and Dort, and then we traded 12 for Grant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically 7 for Grant and Dort. I mean, I would hope we would get at least one more asset out of OKC in that maybe, but and then we still have the Milwaukee pick, I guess. That's not the worst case, but yeah, I don't know.
Dame wants Dort. Like, Dame likes Dort. So that's kind of, I just don't know how much that factors into the equation. Dame likes Dort, he likes Grant, he likes Anunoby.
I think he also likes Hart, and I think they're knowing that they need to get bigger on the wings, and trading for Dort and keeping Hart makes us a lot smaller It's kind of like what we've been doing, only better
Yeah.
defensive players, obviously, with
I mean, if it's off the
Hart and
bench, then
Thorpe.
it's yeah.
Yeah,
If it's off the bench, then you have more flexibility to actually match, a bigger three instead of having to throw Norm up against them. So being able to have options like that would probably be beneficial in the long term, as much as it might be a detriment. Against some bigger bench lineups. Um, I mean, but Hart would play some probably with the starters at the three in that case because you're not valuing Dort like that without playing him a lot of minutes, and you don't have enough minutes at the backup guard spots for both of them. You basically only have enough minutes at a backup guard spot for one of them.
mm-hmm.
It is basically how it, ends up there. So,
But see, in my opinion, if Dame came to me as a GM and said, "Oh, I want Levine, I want Beal, I want Dort," like those kind of players, I'd be like, "So you don't believe in Ant anymore?" Like that would be my first question to him. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear his answer if he would rather, like, let's just say, like, Beal is his favorite player to play with, right? Or is the number one guy he wanted to get to play with. I know that's not the case, but like, would he be willing to give up Ant in that situation? I don't know if that's the case or not.
yep.
But
I
I wouldn't.
wonder.
I wouldn't.
I wonder if Charlotte is a potential option in place of OKC in this because they just worked out Sharp, but they're sitting there with 13 and 15.
Yeah, I mean, it could be contingent on that. I don't believe that Sharp's only worked out for Charlotte. I think he's worked out for OKC, and I think that some of these guys are having like private workouts and stuff.
Maybe we're having private workouts, Eric.
Maybe.
Yeah,
No,
I don't
actually,
know.
that's not true because it came out today. I don't know if you saw this, Tori.
Well,
It's definitely not true because apparently Sharp is bombing every individual workout.
I heard that.
Yeah. So how is he bombing every workout if he's only worked out for one team?
Well, why is he bombing every workout?
Well, the theory is he loves OKC, wants to play for OKC. He's had some interactions on social media alluding with the eye emoji, if you read into it, that his interest is with OKC. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Somebody actually wants to play for OKC. That's crazy. And his name isn't Westbrook. I mean, yeah, I think there is a lot of substance there. OKC at 7, but what's from stopping if they don't think he's gonna fall and they want him that badly, with all their picks they got, what's to stop them from trading up to 5 or 6?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, maybe they have tried to move up to 5 or 6, and those teams aren't biting. And maybe he's trying to, or maybe he's not actually bombing workouts, and they're just trying to make it seem like he is, so he falls to 7, so we can make our trade or whatever. But I don't believe for a second that Sharp is doing bad in workouts. That's all that guy does is solo workouts where he looks amazing, right? There's no way you get that guy in a gym with no defense and he looks like ass, right? There's no way.
Yeah.
That's got to be a smokescreen. Yeah, unlike the Tari Eason thing where where I don't know if that's necessarily a smokescreen because I heard it from so many different sources. But like, there's no way Sharp looks bad in an empty gym with no one around. There's just no chance. That guy's way too athletic to look bad in that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, that's the thing is I do believe that there's some substance there and that could be something in place. I subscribe to your theory.
If you said that he actually went against like Dyson Daniels or something and looked like trash, then I'd be like, yeah, that's what I thought, because he's been avoiding that kind of matchup or whatever, But
Dyson Daniels would out
right.
shoot him, out defend him. Just kidding.
Right.
I'm a Dyson Daniels fan over him at this point, but
But yeah, like him doing solo workouts, I just don't believe that he's bombing those. There's no way.
Yeah, dude, I'm deep down the rabbit hole, man, and it's obviously this is what's fun about the draft and actually paying attention to the draft is there's so many storylines that you kind of have to think through, and some things will be reported, but I mean, thinking back to when we had the Pelicans pick, it was supposed to be 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
We probably talked with Detroit like, yeah, we'll trade you the 11th or 12th pick
Well,
if it conveys.
see, this is the dumb thing about why I'm still mad about the trade deadline because apparently we tried to make it a 3-team trade. I mean, that's obvious. We tried to get Jeremy Grant at the trade deadline still with that pick or whatever. And apparently Detroit only wanted it if it conveyed. They weren't going to get stuck with the Milwaukee pick and not get a lottery pick out of it, right? So they were smart and said, "No, we're not taking this. We're gonna wait, and if it does become a lottery pick, sure." So like I guess they probably had an agreement that if it was the 12th pick that they would trade it for Jeremy Grant. But we all know it didn't pan out that way. So there's no way they're accepting the Milwaukee pick for him. So we have to find another asset. I mean, you'd hope 36 and other seconds and Keon would be good enough. But if that was the case, I think it would have probably happened by now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, if your theory is true, it's 7 for either Dort and 12 or 12 and a couple future firsts. And then we trade 12 for Grant. If we trade for future firsts instead of Dort, 1 or 2 future firsts instead of Dort, I expect us to flip one of those firsts and 36, because that's the thing with 36, like maybe it's in the deal, but I don't think it needs to be. I feel like if we trade down from 7 to 12 and get back a future first or 2, we're combining one of them with 36 to Chicago and getting our future first back. And then we're putting those future firsts in play for either, hopefully OG Anunoby. If we're going to put those future firsts in play, like, please have it be OG Anunoby, because I don't see another realistic target for those firsts that would be better than him. The other guy that those firsts could be in play for is John Collins. And John Collins next to Jeremy Grant would be disgustingly rough defensively, in my opinion. I don't think those two fit. Neither of those guys. John Collins is a solid, rim protector. And honestly, Jeremy Grant is too. Neither of those guys are good on-ball defenders. You'd have a starting lineup with 5 below average on-ball defenders if you had Dame, Ant, Grant, John Collins, and Nurkic. Yeah, you had 2 big names that people would love, and then halfway through the season, all the people that loved it would be lamenting the fact that our defense is still 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you'd be better, but still, I don't think you can win in the NBA if your starting lineup is 5 below average perimeter defenders.
Yeah.
So if it's OG plus Grant, that's fine, because OG's a really good on-ball defender, perimeter defender. If it's Collins plus Grant, that's disgusting. If it's OG plus Collins, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the common denominator is you need OG out of that if you're going to sell out for something.
Yeah. Yeah, just got to find a way to make that all work. But, one thing we didn't have at the trade deadline the last few years is future picks to trade, because we owed this similar protections on the second pick in the Rocco trade as we did in the Nance trade. So we didn't really open up our first for a couple of years since the Rocco trade. So maybe there's some deals out there that if we had a bunch of, like Jeremy Grant, for example, if we had 2 future firsts like that from OKC at the time, we probably get Jeremy Grant or Miles Turner or someone at the deadline, or maybe even a PJ Washington or a Mo Bamba or something like that, who are teams that were just asking like a late first for those guys at the deadline. So you got a lot more pieces to maneuver around. Maybe there's someone with their smaller trade exception of the 6 million one that you can flip one of those first four, like I said, PJ Washington type player. I don't know. Maybe if you find talent that way, that maybe you find the next OG somehow. I don't know. It's just it gives you a lot more versatility, like they like to say, flexibility if you have more future picks. But yeah, if they don't do anything with them, that becomes the problem.
Yeah, honestly, believe it or not, if we trade for Jeremy Grant, like if we do this trade down from 7 to 12 and then trade 12 for Jeremy Grant, I would rather keep Nas and start him at the 3 than like try and, flip maybe the future first we got from OKC for first back from Chicago and then trade our own future first for John Collins. I'd rather just keep our future first and wait until the trade deadline, like you said, seeing what becomes available and starting Nasir Little.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd rather have Nasir Little next to Grant than John Collins next to Grant because Nasir Little, like, that's the part of his defense where he succeeds in. He's a really good on-ball defender already. He just struggles off the ball. Like, he has a lot of off-ball lapses, and he can still clean up some things on the ball, but he was a good on-ball defender last year, so you have your on-ball defender with some length that can guard 1 through 4 in the starting lineup at the 3 spot. And this coming from somebody that doesn't want to settle for just starting Nasir Little at the 3 spot next year. But if it's him versus selling out assets for John Collins, who's, in my opinion, a really bad on-ball defender, at least against, point guard, shooting guard, small forwards, then it's not, I don't want that.
Mm-hmm. So, in my opinion, I still think 12 for Jeremy Grant is a bit of an overpay, but I would like it better if we made them take Bledsoe and then we kept the trade exception, especially if we got future picks. Because if we're sitting there with 2 future picks from OKC, not OKC's, but, Denver's protected pick or whatever they got today, something like that. And then I think they have Washington's protected pick for the next couple of years or whatever. That might be something they throw into a trade thinking that might not convey or something. So we might have a couple of first-round picks from that and a first-round pick from Milwaukee. So we get rid of Bledsoe and we don't have to take his dead money 3.9 hit. And that means we have 3 future firsts, even though we can't trade our first. But we still have our trade exception of the 20.8 million one that we could attach those picks to. And then we talk about, offering 3 firsts for OG or whatever. I mean, we might not be able to get him for those kind of firsts, but you know what I mean? Like we have players we could target and offer 3 firsts for, and it wouldn't be an overpay because who cares? They're not even going to be a good first or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah, I just think that Ujiri, you're talking about Cronin versus Ujiri in a negotiation battle. I have no confidence in him winning that battle.
True, but one thing to keep in mind too, the 2023 draft looks insane. like this could be an all-time draft. Probably not, late lottery, or I mean not late lottery, but like late first, maybe not. It'd probably be about the same as any other draft. But the lottery type talent in that draft next year looks insane right now.
We have the 7th pick in the wrong year, man.
I know, but like I'm not saying to tank again, but if you could maybe, like I mentioned this before, like when we were talking about like if we got the 4th pick and OKC got 7, like what would it take to move down to 7 type of scenarios? If you could get a pick that could possibly be around 10 next year for number 7, I would consider doing that if you got like OKC's top 3 protected first next year for 7 or something like that.
Yeah. That
might be something to where at the trade deadline then that has insane value if OK's sitting there at 5 or 6, and also you could keep it and potentially get an absolute game changer in that draft because there's like 10 guys that are looking like they're going to be superstars next year in that draft.
Yep. Here's another thing about, if we throw in Eric Bledsoe, so we save our TPE. It's very borderline. I just did the math. It's like, I think this works because I think I've done the math on this before. But if you throw in Justice Winslow, Lozada, and Greg Brown III, you could potentially bring back Kelly Olynyk as well. Now, given how highly they talk about Justice Winslow, I don't know if they would just throw him in like that, which is crazy to me. Hopefully it's not, they don't think about him as highly as they acted like after the season. Cronin just had some very raving comments about Justice Winslow. I would want that as part of the deal if possible. Because I think Kelly Olynyk is a very underrated big man. We need a backup center. He can shoot. He can pass the ball. He can, do a little bit off the dribble. And I think, he's not... I don't know. The one area where I wouldn't be thrilled with it is he's not a great, athletic rim protector. But I think he's a very solid positional defender. So maybe that would be part of it.
Yeah, maybe. I kind of want... Because he's more similar to Nurk than the type of backup center that I'm hoping we get. Not that I have anything against Olynyk personally, but I'm kind of hoping for a more of a defensive, quick jumper, rim protector type.
So am I, but if we can't,
and
here's the thing:
it's also a trade chip.
Yeah, it's also a trade chip. You could also flip it. It could also, if we're not in the tax, Kelly Olynyk by himself could match $17.8 million of salary. OG Anunoby next year. Let me actually look at this. OG Anunoby next year is making 17.3 mil.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had Olynyk as part of the trade where you're giving up Bledsoe, taking on Olynyk, you could, if you were able to pull off an Anunoby trade, Olynyk's, A, he's Canadian, so, Toronto. B, we've all talked about how they need big men. C, I think the best type of big man to have next to Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes is one that can shoot. I think Kelly Olynyk could be a piece that they might value, and because if we're not in the tax after making the trade, we can bring back $5 million more than Kelly Olynyk's contract. He can match OG Anunoby on his own, and we could still have our TPE.
Yeah. What are you attaching to that?
I mean, picks, what we'd give up for Anunoby in the first place, right. You know what I mean? But instead of using the $20 million TPE to take on Anunoby and then giving up first, you give Toronto a guy that matches Anunoby, so we save our TPE, and I feel like they would value him a bit. Not much, but I feel like there might be, I don't know, instead of throwing in a couple seconds, they would be happy with Olynyk instead.
I heard Philadelphia is shopping the 23rd pick along with Danny Green, try and get a player. It'd be nice to have Rocco or Norm to trade for him, right?
I know, yeah.
I mean, not that Danny Green would, because I forgot he got hurt in the playoffs and he'll probably be out most of next year. But
yeah,
to getting that 23rd pick would be nice to add to these kind of scenarios as well.
Mm-hmm. And just having more assets in general.
Speaking of that, interesting move by the Nuggets to get the 30th pick. Could they be preparing to try and move up in the draft now that they have the 21st and the 30th pick?
That's possible. I do have a name who I feel like everybody thinks would fall to them at 21, but I feel like is better than that, and I feel like will go before 21, but a player that would fit them perfectly that they might trade up for. Do you have a guess as to who I'm thinking of?
Well, the obvious thing is Jovic.
No.
I mean, that's the rumor.
Yeah. They want Jokic and Jovic.
Yeah.
I feel MarJon Beauchamp would be a perfect fit for them. One of the best fits in that range of the draft. They need an on-ball defender. Beauchamp's a really, really good on-ball defender. Having cutters off Jokic is a positive. Beauchamp is one of the best cutters in the draft. Those are his two positives. Shot-wise, I don't think his shot is broken. He didn't shoot too well, but I think his form is okay. Hopefully he's not Victor Claver with good form that just never makes shots. But then he's also, somewhat shifty, and I feel like has a little bit of upside off the bounce that people don't realize. And most mock drafts that I've seen have him falling to around the 21 range. I have a feeling he's not going to. Yeah, I have a feeling he's not going to last. I have a feeling he's such a perfect fit for them that maybe they would, if it's not Jovic, maybe they would trade up for Beauchamp just to make sure that they got him.
They're playing him over Aaron Gordon, though?
I think you play him at the 3. Shooting-wise is questionable.
Michael Porter Jr.? I mean, they already have their 3 and 4 locked up.
Michael Porter Jr. is never healthy, so I keep forgetting he exists. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know if you'd start him. You probably wouldn't start him. Yeah. You probably wouldn't start him right away, but I think with MPJ at the 3, Gordon at the 4, Jokic at the 5, you could play Beauchamp at the 2. I mean, like, Barton plays some at the 2, and I think there was a rumor that said they might want to move off of him. And if not, you bring Beauchamp off the bench. You need a lockdown perimeter defender. Denver needs a lockdown perimeter defender. I think Beauchamp would be perfect for them. Doesn't have to start right away. But could be a guy that could be a positive value as a rookie just because he cuts well and because he's probably going to be a solid defender right off the bat with the potential to be really, really good in the future. So that's kind of the sneaky pick for them, in my opinion. If he falls to 21, I would be shocked if they don't go with him at 21. I feel like a team's going to like him before that, man. I like his game.
I could also see him taking 2 international guys and calling it good.
Yeah, I mean, I watched back when the Suns took Jalen Smith over Halliburton. I was saying I'd be shocked if they don't take Tyrese Halliburton right here. He's so perfect for them, and then they took Jalen Smith, and we all know how that turned out. So, I say that. I've been shocked as much as I haven't been shocked with some teams' picks. But I think Beauchamp's really good for them. The other potential reason is they could be hoping that Kendall Brown falls to 30, who I think at that point would also be a good fit for them, is that perimeter defender who can cut a bit. You're not high on him. I'm lower on him than consensus right now, but I'm a little bit higher on Kendall Brown than you. I just think Denver would probably be the best fit for him. So maybe they're hoping that Kendall Brown's available at 30.
I just think they kind of need. I mean, obviously, I think you think Beauchamp will be that guy, shooter, but I think they need a guy who can do both, a 3-and-D guy. I just don't see Kendall Brown having the 3 part of that ever.
Yeah, I mean, but you're probably not going to find a player like that at 30.
Yeah.
That's
that's why I think they're positioning to maybe package Barton in those 2 first, maybe for someone, or moving up with 21 and 30, kind of similar to what they did the opposite way with Utah with the Donovan Mitchell trade, something like that. It's just in the opposite direction. But yeah, I don't think they pass on Jovic at 21 if he's there.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jovic a lot, and I like him for a lot of teams. Denver, I think Denver just has to draft some defense. And value-wise, that's a fine pick, and he could end up being a star, so I wouldn't say that's a bad pick or anything. It's just if that's really who they're positioning for, I just wonder how they're going to address. I think they need another on-ball stopper. It's kind of like us, Like, if we had their picks, yeah, I'd like Jovic, but how are we going to address the defense?
And I guess they didn't promise Caleb Houston 30 OKC.
Yeah. I think he has an early second promise somewhere. I don't know where.
Well, OKC has 34, so maybe it was that. Could be the right team, but just wrong.
Yeah, Chet, Sharp, Caleb Houston at 2, 7, and 34.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Well, there's rumors they want Ivy it too. I don't know why that. See that
they want Ivy and Sharp.
That conflicts with the Sharp thing because I don't think they would.
I don't think they
want both.
Ivy too.
Yeah.
Shout out to this dono has been sitting here for like 40 minutes. Sorry, Caleb. $2 dono. He says thoughts on trading for the 4th pick if Jabari falls. I don't think there's any chance we trade up to 4 if Jabari's there.
Well,
I think Sacramento just, and I don't think Jabari
there's
falls.
There's no chance
either.
Jabari's still on the board at 4.
There's a 0.1% chance he's on the board at 4.
And then, from OKC's perspective, I think they just had so many picks in this draft. They don't have a lot of roster spots since they don't have a lot of free agents. So I think it's just them trading a 30th pick, taking on some salary while they have that ability to do so right now. They're also positioning themselves to where they can start combining salary now towards the beginning of August. Or actually, they might be able to right away if they use cap space, I think. So they might be positioning themselves to finally make a run and turn some of those future picks into an actual asset.
Yep. So what else for the stream draft wise?
Well, Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer had his updated mock draft finally today. It's supposed to be with Intel. So I was going to go through that like we did some of the drafts last week and see if there's anything that pops out. So 1, 2, 3, he's got Jabari, Chet, and Paulo. So very standard there. But at 4, he has the Kings taking Keegan Murray.
That'd be such a Kings pick to me, man.
He says his first choice would be to trade down into the mid-lottery, get additional assets, and draft someone useful there. But if they stay put, Murray is the best fit and still a high-level prospect who can thrive playing off Fox and Sabonis.
If they do that, dude, like I guarantee you Keegan Murray's just going to be a role player and Ivy's going to be a superstar.
Yeah.
That's just the Kings' way. And that would be hilarious. I think it's clear at this point, I wanted to say this earlier and I forgot. I think it's clear at this point that 5 players are going to be taken in the top 6. And that's Chet, Jabari, Ivy, Banchero, and Keegan Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I expect those 5 to go in the top 6.
So the only thing is where does that leave the last person out of those 6?
Exactly. Like who's that 6th person? Is it Sharp? Is it Dyson Daniels? Is it? That's kind of where things start for me. And honestly, I could see Detroit taking somebody before Keegan Murray. Like I could see them taking Sharp over Keegan Murray, maybe even a Dyson Daniels over Keegan Murray. I just think if Keegan Murray's at 6, Indiana takes him. So that's why I said 5 of the top 6 spots. I just don't know who that 6th guy is.
Mm-hmm. And then the rumor today was that Detroit loves Mathurin.
I'd be okay with them taking him at 5.
But in this scenario, with Ivy on the board, I don't think there's any way they pass up on Ivy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely not. So that's who's at 5?
Yeah, so Ivy's at 5 to the Pistons. So they're doing jumping jacks if Ivy falls, or if any of the top 4 falls to them, they're happy because I think any of those guys are a great fit for them. And yeah, as DJ Vega points out, there's a lot of Pacer fans that are pining for Mathurin as well. So he actually has Shaedon Sharp going 6 to the Pacers, so that would screw up our trade, I guess.
Yeah.
But that leaves us at 7 with Daniels, Mathurin, AJ Griffin, Duran, all on the board. So you're taking Daniels still?
I'm taking Daniels.
And that is who he has us taking.
Cool.
He mentions Evan Turner being an experiment that failed, but the idea of Turner was sound, a big playmaker who could defend multiple positions. And hopefully Daniels turns out better than ET did here. And then they have...
if he could just shoot threes and not take somebody's stupid mid-range. Yeah.
Then he has Matherin going 8 to the Pelicans. Good spot for them. They have San Antonio taking Ousmane Dieng at 9. So,
That's seemingly a popular pick now, and that's what I had in my first mock draft, and that's what I have in my next mock draft.
mm-hmm.
I think he makes too much sense there.
Then he has got AJ Griffin going 10 to the Wizards.
Okay.
Duran going 11 to the Knicks.
Okay.
Sohan going 12 to the Thunder. It doesn't seem like a Thunder pick to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how much do they buy into his potential offensive upside.
And then he's got Agbaji going 13 to the Hornets.
At this point, that's a reach.
Which means the Cavaliers at 14 get Johnny Davis.
Oh, yeah, Johnny Davis still on the board. If they took Agbaji over Johnny Davis, Johnny Davis is literally the better prospect in every single area except for three-point shooting.
Yeah. I mean, Agbaji projects to be a good defender, but
not as good as Davis.
Maybe they just see Agbaji as a similar defender with better shooting for that team, and they have a lot of guards who aren't the greatest shooters, so maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. But yeah.
I think Johnny Davis can be a fine three-point shooter, though. He took a lot of questionable threes.
Yeah. I agree. I've been saying that all year. But then, I'm just trying to think of what would. Yeah.
Johnny Davis has the sneakiest upside in this draft. It feels like now. Where at the start of the season, people were saying, "Oh, he could go top 5," and it was like, feels a little high. Now it's, I mean, the dude has. I could see the dude being an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
He's strong, drives well, shifty, finishes strong around the basket, has solid length, has a really solid mid-range game. He has a lot of pieces when you're looking at prospects, down the line when they become an all-star. I feel like he's one of the guys that if he does become an all-star, people will be looking back at his film in college and be like, how did we not see this guy being an all-star?
Mm-hmm.
Why did they take Ochai Agbaji, an okay role player, 3-and-D guy, over Johnny Davis when you could see the star upside with him?
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that pick for Charlotte, Agbaji over Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis would be perfect. Perfect. And maybe not perfect because they could use a little bit more shooting, but defensively, if you had Johnny Davis to that.
Sick. Yeah, Davis with Mobley and Allen. Yeah.
That's scary. And then you got your star guard and Garland, who's still very young. I mean, Cleveland's sitting in such a perfect position.
Mm-hmm.
Because Branham's still on the board too, and he'd make a ton of sense for them.
Yep. And yeah, so they can have their choice of those shooting guards, or they could, go for Tari Eason type, or even they could even take a risk on a Jovic, or if Ousmane Dieng didn't go earlier, that's a spot where I could see them taking him. I like that position. They lucked out not making the playoffs because they weren't going to win a championship, but now they get to add another piece to that puzzle, which they wouldn't have got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so then 15, they have Charlotte taking Mark Williams. 16, Atlanta, Tari Eason. 17, the Rockets get Branham. So that's pretty good for them, getting Banchero and Branham in this draft. I would love that for them. EJ Liddell, 18. Ty Washington, 19. Jovic, 20 to the Spurs, so they got Dieng and Jovic. I know you like that
draft a ton for them.
Yeah. Jalen Williams, 21 to Denver.
Actually,
that's an
Jalen Williams
fit.
next to Jokic would be kind of interesting long term.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be part of it would feel like another Zeke Naji pick, but I think Jalen Williams has a little bit more fluidity, a little bit more upside offensively.
This guy kind of screams Grizzly pick. Bryce McGowan's 22 to the Grizzlies. 23, Blake Wesley to the 76ers. He's got the Bucks taking Walker Kessler at 24. I don't like
Disgusting.
that. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Then the Spurs getting Jaden Hardy at 25.
I love that draft for them.
Dude, that would be... Gosh, if they come out of the draft with those three, that's...
Honestly, it's like...
High upside? Like, could you get higher upside?
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. It's like, it's not even that necessarily Jang at 9, Jovic at 20, or Hardy at 25 isn't the range those guys should be going in. But with San Antonio, they have too many middling role players that don't have a ton of upside. Like, Lonnie Walker hasn't really panned out. I'm blanking on all the... Devin Vassell. Like, it's a lot of guys like that. Romeo Langford. Just guys that are never going to amount to be, like, good NBA starters. They need to swing for upside. And they need to swing for upside at the forward positions. So Jang, Jovic, and Hardy at 9, 20, and 25 is absolutely... Like, that would be an A-plus draft for me, for them, because that's so much upside. That gives them... a higher ceiling in the future should one of those guys, maybe two of those guys pan out. That's how they're going to rebuild. They either need to swing for upside in this draft, or I think they need to trade DeJounte Murray and like get bad enough so they're getting top 5 picks in the next couple of years, because they're stuck picking like 9 to 11 right now. Mm-hmm. You gotta swing for upside. Next year that might be fine because the lottery's stacked, but they're kind of stuck in between getting high draft picks and being a playoff team.
Well, I put OKC in the same boat, and that's why I think a guy like Sohan doesn't make a lot of sense for either team, because I think those are both teams that need to swing for upside, and getting a glue guy with a high floor I don't think is the right move for either of those teams.
Yeah. I mean, Sohan, I don't know. I'm not completely out on his upside.
Oh, I'm not saying he doesn't have upside. I'm just saying, like, I think in the perfect world, Sohan is like a really, really good role player on a good team. Like, he could be a 6th or 7th, like in the top 7 rotation players, or a starting 4 on a really good team. I just don't know if he's like your best player if that team's ever going to win anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the way he moves for his size.
Dude, I love
has
a
decent
handle.
handle.
It's not knocking him at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if I'm going for players that, like the Anthony Simons pick, right?
Well, yeah.
It's like who cares, like, if he's not good for a couple of years? We're thinking of, will he eventually be the best player in this draft or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing with Sohan, though, is like when a guy that big can move like he does, and then also has shown passing flashes, and then has a solid handle already and is still very young, like, it's hard to project what his upside is.
Yeah.
Because he's not close to being... I mean, like, he's going to be a negative offensively probably for a year or two, but long term, he's a moldable guy to me. So I wouldn't necessarily hate him as much as some other guys for San Antonio or OKC, because I think that he's moldable. And if one of those front offices think, and coaching staffs think, okay, we can get him in and like mold him to be a really, really freaking good player, I can understand that thinking. Mm-hmm. Is kind of my point with him.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I would be going for guys who have a chance of being a star, and I wouldn't be afraid to strike out, versus a guy who I know is going to be a dependable, maybe even starter for a long time. I'm not saying that Sohan doesn't necessarily have potential to be a star player. I just don't see any world where he's the best player on a team. Whereas, I don't know, maybe an Ousmane Dieng could, and that's why I would take, if I was one of those two teams, him over them. Now, if I'm Portland, it's kind of tough. I wouldn't take Sohan at 7, but if we traded down to 12 and Sohan's on the board still, I really like that for Portland in that scenario. But I don't necessarily like OKC taking him.
Yeah, I mean, with San Antonio, if they got Jovic at 20 and Hardy at 25, I'd like Sohan more at 9 if that's what they decided to do. If they went like,
that's true,
Wendell Moore at 25 and
Hardy,
I don't know, like,
man, Hardy with DeJounte is interesting. That's one of the, I could see that working out.
Yeah, you finally get a 2 guard with legitimate upside, which I guess some people thought Lonnie Walker did. He didn't pan out. Swing again.
Yeah.
And that's all he can do.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was after 25?
Then they have the Mavericks getting Dalen Terry at 26. Your favorite pick, Kennedy Chandler, 27 to the Heat. The Heat could use another shot creator, especially with 36-year-old Kyle Lowry looking slow.
Okay. He's copying me.
28, Golden State Warriors.
That's such an interesting pick. That's one of the most interesting picks in the draft is Golden State at 28. What are they
So,
doing?
who's on the board still? We got
Koloko, Kamagate are kind of my two favorites. Jalen Williams would have made sense for them, but he got drafted.
They have him taking Christian Koloko.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 29 to the Grizzlies is Beauchamp, who's still on the board. And
wait. Have you said Jalen Williams yet?
What, the first the Santa Clara?
Santa Clara.
Yeah, he went 21 to the Nuggets.
Oh, I was thinking Arkansas for some reason.
No. The Santa Clara, Jalen Williams, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two Jalen. Yeah.
Okay, he went 21 to Denver. Yeah. Okay, actually, I like that. Okay.
And then
everything I said, because, see, I was talking about Arkansas Jalen Williams. Everything I said about comparing him to Zeke Naji was just ignore that and forget that happened because I was thinking Arkansas Jalen Williams. Yeah. I thought he...
No.
Yeah.
And then at 30, they have the Nuggets getting LaRabia. So the Nuggets came out with Jalen Williams and Jake LaRabia in this draft.
LaRabia would be a freaking phenomenal pick for them, actually.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think this has a second round, unless I'm missing it.
Wow, man.
But that's...
No second round? Come on, man.
Beauchamp falling to... Yeah,
29? Yeah, that's an L.
Yeah, so interesting.
Do you have a big board? Do you want to end off this stream with, like, going through your big board? If you have one?
Let me bring mine up. It's constantly fluctuating.
Same. We can go through who we have at each spot together through, like, I don't know, 30.
Through 30?
One we already know. I got Chet, you got Jabari.
Mm-hmm.
2, I have Banchero, you have...
Banchero.
Okay. 3, I have Jabari, and you have...
Chet.
Okay. Who's at 4 for you?
I have Ivy at 4.
So do I. So it's the same, except I have Chet at 1 and Jabari at 3, and you have them flipped. You have Jabari at 1 and Chet at 3. 5. Who do you have at 5?
I have someone you said that shouldn't be taken in the top 5, but this is from a non-Blazer fan perspective. I have Johnny Davis at 5.
I respect it. Johnny Davis I have at 7. At 5, I have Dyson Daniels. At 6, I have Sharp. At 7, I have Davis. Who do you have at 6 and 7?
At 6, I have Mathurin. 7, Keegan Murray.
Okay.
And then I have Sharp at 8.
Okay. I have Mathurin at 8, so the only difference there, I have Dyson Daniels at 5. You don't have him top 8. I don't have Keegan Murray top 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Surprising. Everyone is shocked.
At 9, I have a surprising... I mean, we already talked about... I have Ousmane Dieng at 9 right now.
Okay. I'm just wondering if I want to change my board. Man, I keep flipping on some of these guys.
So do I, yeah. It's hard. They're all pretty even.
Yeah. I have, man. I don't even know who I like at 9. I guess I'm going to go Jalen Duren.
You should put Daniels in 9, then. If you don't know who to go with, just trust me, then.
Man,
Duren,
I don't want to do that because you think he's good.
Well, I mean, just
I'm
you
my
trust your
own
boy because you don't, know yourself.
No, I'm just saying, like, I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that are all basically graded the same for me in the next spot. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have Jang 9, Duran 10, Keegan Murray 11.
Who do you have 10?
Duran.
Okay.
And then Keegan Murray. Maybe we should just run through this one by one.
Okay.
Do you think that would be better?
Well,
I'll just run.
Sure.
Or do you want to? You run through yours because we've seen mine with the mock drafts. So just run through yours.
All right. So I got man. I got
Clicking intensifies.
Okay. I got Branham 10.
Okay.
Sohan 11.
Okay.
AJ Griffin 12.
Okay.
Agbaji 13. Daniels 14.
Damn, you'll be pissed if we take Dyson Daniels, won't you?
I'm not going to be pissed. I understand his upside. I just have several players I like better. And then I have Jovic 15. And then Jang 16. I don't know if you want to catch up.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, Jang 9, Duran 10, Keegan Murray 11. Sohan at 12. Branham at 13. AJ Griffin at 14. I have Beauchamp at 15 right now, and I have Jovic at 16.
Okay.
The only guy that you have in your top 16 that I don't is Agbaji.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead you have... who did you have in... Oh, you had Agbaji and I had Beauchamp. Was the difference there. Okay.
Yeah.
Start at 17. What you got?
All right, 17 I have Tari Eason.
Okay.
And then 18 I have Christian Koloko.
Okay.
And then 19 Mark Williams.
Okay. 17 I have Jake LaRavia. 18 I have Jalen Williams. 19 I have Tari Eason.
All right. Oh, man. Leonard Miller dropped out of the draft today.
Yeah, I just deleted him off my big board 10 seconds ago, man. Kind of sucks, but...
All right. So I know you're going to think this is stupid, but I actually have Abubaji 20th on my board.
I respect the boldness and believing in your opinion about a guy. I don't see the same things, but I can respect it, you know? Because that's the thing. It's easy to just, like, not watch any prospects and look at three big boards and be like, okay, I'm going to mix mine up slightly, but people still respect it because it's close to everything else. So I respect Baji at 20. I just disagree, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, for sure. I know you're going to disagree.
20, I have another Baji. I have Oshai Agbaji.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I have him at 20. I was higher on him earlier in the year. I like everybody above him. I like their ceiling better. They're in their upside better. All right. So what's after 20 for you?
21, I have Jalen Williams from Arkansas.
Arkansas Jalen Williams. Yeah. Jalen Williams. Santa Clara Jalen Williams at 18.
Yeah.
Is who I had at 18.
I have Jaden Hardy, 22. Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, 23. Then Ty 24. And I have Jabari Walker, 25 right now.
Okay. 21, I have Mark Williams. Have you said Mark Williams yet?
Yeah, he was 19 for me.
Okay. 21, Mark Williams. 22, Ty. 23, right now I have Dalen Terry. 24, I have Jaden Hardy. 25, I have Koloko. You didn't think I'd end up this high on Dalen Terry, did you?
Not after your comments during the season, but yeah.
I'm still annoyed about that. Still annoyed about that, by the way. All right, round out your top 30, and then maybe have notable rankings after that.
I think I'm missing someone on my list. Hold on just a second.
Okay, do you want me to list
my
next
Go
five?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
At 26, I have Kamagate. At 27, I have Kennedy Chandler. At 28, I have Arkansas Jalen Williams. At 29, I have Gabriel Procida. And at 30, I have Orlando Robinson.
All right.
Are you sure you're forgetting somebody? I don't think you're forgetting anyone.
Um, I'm just going down. I
Wow. Go ahead.
I've
While
like
you look, I can think of the name.
I've updated in my mind a
Yeah.
lot. I just haven't done it on my actual board in a while. So yeah,
Shout
go
Caleb
ahead.
Pendergraph, $5 dono. He says, he who should not be named likes Aiton to the Blazers. Thoughts on it? Caleb, you watch a lot of our streams. We talked about it a ton, man. Thank you for the $5 dono. I don't care who Voldemort likes. But Aiton is not Aiton. I'm not a fan of Aiton being the all-in move this offseason.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't think that makes sense for Aiton with. I already talked about it. The cost acquisition of getting him versus now. I mean, if we could sign him and Phoenix isn't matching, I guess in that scenario it's worth losing Nurk and Ingles and stuff like that. I just don't see any scenario where we get him for basically nothing, um, with just having to give up free agents, but not having
yeah.
to trade stuff. So
Caleb says he hasn't heard of Orlando Robinson. I'd rather have Orlando Robinson than Nate. Orlando Robinson with a 36 pick, of course, and like a third string. But Orlando Robinson, he's not a rim protector, but seems like he could be, solid otherwise as a defensive center. I don't think he'll ever be a good defensive big, but I think he could be okay. The value with him comes on the offensive end. He can shoot, handle the ball, has some passing upside, has solid size. Like, I think he's, 6'10 with a 9'3 standing reach, if I recall correctly, or he's 6'11, something like that. So he's a center that has perimeter skills. And I have him at 30 because I think his offensive upside for his spot is too intriguing. And I think you can turn him into an okay defensive player, and he can provide you a lot of offensive value. I don't understand how he's like a fringe draftable guy given the things that he can do at the center spot with his size. Because a lot of drafts have him like fringe, like in the 50s. Some mock drafts have him not even getting drafted. So that's a guy that I like.
Mm-hmm. All right, so to round off my draft board, I got Beauchamp at 26. At 27, I have Musa Diabate.
Okay.
And then I have Yannick Noza at 28, 29 EJ Liddell, and 30 Blake Wesley.
Okay, so who are you missing? Dalen Terry, that I have in my top 30.
Yeah,
Dalen Terry,
I have Dalen Terry
Kamagate.
31, so not too far.
Okay. Kennedy, Chandler, Procida, and Robinson are the 5 guys I have that you do not.
Yeah, most of those guys are in
Yeah.
early second for me. So,
what are some notable second round rankings for you?
well, honestly, like I put a lot of my guys that like in my second round up further, but I still like Josh Minot in the second round for a lot of teams. It's just like a high upside guy. I like Hugo Besson in the right situation. I like all the Duke guys, Keels and Wendell Moore. David Roddy, like you've mentioned a million times, I like him in the second round for a team, especially a good team. Yeah, not a lot of like surprises. Most of those guys I put up into the first round type guys.
Yeah. I saw somebody earlier say that they could tell I value upside a lot with my big board. That doesn't apply to Josh Minot for me. Minot. I don't know, man. It's hard to make a judgment about his game because I think a lot of his upside is just going to depend upon can he knock down the 3 ball. Defensively, I think he can obviously be a good forward and he's athletic. His shot in college was just broken. I know he's refined his form a little bit. I don't know. If he's a good shooter, he should probably be a first round pick. Like if he can end up being a solid to good shooter, he should probably be a late first round pick. If not, and that's kind of where I trend towards, I think he's a mid to late second So that's one of like kind of the higher upside guys that I'm not higher on than consensus. But I don't know. I do see it.
See, for me, I'm kind of banking on some of the Memphis guys to both him and Duran to be. I don't think Hardaway is a good X's and O's coach or developmental coach. Heck of a recruiter, obviously, but I don't like him. I don't like what they've done in developing players in the last couple of years. So I look at him as someone who hasn't had the best individual coaching or development, and someone who could really improve on where, like, one of those guys, like, how did he fall to the second round in a couple of years?
Yep. Chat, just give us names. We'll tell you where they are on our big boards. Just say a name in chat and we'll answer it. Where do you have Dominic Barlow?
I have him in the late 30s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, like 38 or something.
I have him early 30s. He's kind of one of those upside guys. Boom or bust at that point. Where do you have David Roddy?
Roddy, I have right around 40.
Okay. Trying to find guys that we disagree on, but I have Roddy at 36.
Jean Montero.
I have Montero at 51.
Yeah.
Peter Kiss. Okay.
Like,
I have Peter Kiss at like 1,020.
44.
44.
Let's see. Where do you have Nemhard?
39.
Okay.
I have Kendall Brown 38, Nemhard 39, Rollins 40. Ryan Rollins.
Yeah. There's one we disagree on then.
Who?
I just don't. I mean, he's solid, I just don't think he's going to be good enough to play in the NBA. So yeah, I don't have him in my top 60.
He's extremely smart and a really good pick and roll player. I think that translates to the league. He has solid size for a point guard. Measured a little bit shorter than I thought he was, but I mean, he can pass. He can pass the ball. Good pick and roll player. I think he can be adequate defensively. So just kind of like okay in a lot of areas. But I think his passing is pretty good, like for a general type role. And then it just comes down to his shot. He kind of has a weird shot, but he shot well at the combine. So it's not a guy who has a ton of upside at all, but I think in the second round, that's probably one of your higher floor guys, a guy that could come in right away and potentially play minutes for a solid team. So that's why I'm at 39.
Yeah, I think, obviously if you're a playoff team that needs some backcourt depth, I don't think that's a bad pick. I wouldn't like bash it or anything. I just don't see him being much more than maybe a backup point guard in the NBA.
Yep. Josh, I had Timmy outside my top 60, by the way. John Butler, John Butler's such a weird prospect, man.
Yeah.
I need to watch more of John Butler.
I have him around 50. I don't get good vibes watching him play. I just don't like the way he plays. I think it's he can move a little bit for that size, and it's intriguing. I get why people are fawning over him, but I don't think the way he plays works in the NBA that much. Other than, as a catch and shoot 3-pointer, I think he'll be fine. Anytime you get a big man who can shoot, it of course is a weapon you can use. I just don't think he's quick enough defensively. And his frame, it's a lot worse to me than Chet, just because, like, I don't know. I feel like Chet plays tough even though he's skinny, whereas Butler just gets absolutely thrown around inside.
Yeah. And Chet is supposedly 20 pounds heavier. So
Chet's put on 80 pounds in 3 months.
Some of my hot takes, I have Christian Brown at 50. A lot of people still have him going late first. I have him at 50. Patrick Baldwin Jr. I have at 59. Max Christie I have 58. Caleb Houston, I have 57. I had those three kind of grouped together. All highly regarded players coming out of high school that did not look did not look the part in college. JD Davison's a guy. I mean, his stock has fallen. He was talked about as like an early second earlier this season. I never saw it with him. Your guy Baji, I have. I mean, the 60s I don't even rank, but I have him in the 60s. So that's gonna be looking back 5 years from now. Somebody remember.
I mean,
how you'll remember if he pans out.
That's like your Georgios Kawasaki's. That's like who he is to me. So
I respect it. Yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not hating. I told you, I respect it. We're not gonna agree on everything.
PDJ at 59 is a crime.
I mean, dude, I think I can jump higher than him off a spin move than him trying to jump his highest. I need to familiarize myself with Aminu Muhammad. There's still a couple guys I need to watch. Georgetown sucked this year. I didn't watch Georgetown this year. There was no point. What do you think about Sebron? Because I know he's kind of a hot topic. Like I see a lot of people that are high on him.
Mm-hmm.
Think he should be a borderline first round pick, and like guys that know, some guys that actually know ball too. And then some people have him undrafted. I have him as an undrafted guy simply because I don't see what his NBA role would be where he helps a team.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on Sebron?
Yeah, I have him in the 80s, I think, on my board. Yeah, 82 okay. Or something. Yeah, I'm not super high on him either.
Yeah. He can get to the rim, but the dude not known as a good defensive player. Doesn't shoot the ball well, needs the ball in his hands to be effective. He's very quick first step, but not super explosive finishing around the rim, in traffic at least. So, yeah, I just don't see how his game translates to the NBA. So that's a guy that...
I mean, he's a guy, if he develops a consistent three-point shot, could be good, but yeah. You could say that about a million guys.
Yep. Pete Nance is going back to school, by the way. Alondes Williams, I have like right around 45. I have him at 45. I just realized I put 3 Williamses in a row. I did not mean to do that. I got Vince Williams 43, Trevion Williams 44, Alondes Williams 45.
Do you have Isaiah Mobley on your board?
49.
I'm 49 too.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be great, but I think he could be a solid role player at best. But yeah,
I actually love him as the Cleveland's late second.
Would be cool to combine them. Yeah,
drafted there. Yeah, I have Walker Kessler right now at 47.
Double E. We just talked about Jane Montero.
Yeah, where do you have Kessler at?
Oh man. I did not like
not even on your board.
He's one of those guys I just dropped down towards the end of my list because I don't 54.
Yeah, I'm 47.
Right with Kendall Brown right there.
That's funny. Do you have Vince Williams on your board at all?
Yeah, I'm at 52.
Okay. We agree more in the second round than I thought. We disagree on Trevion Williams probably.
Yeah, Trevion Williams I have basically off my board as well. I just there's players that it's tough for me because I'll just have a player and I'll just be like I wouldn't draft him, so I'm just going to drop him way down towards the end of my list and I'll have him on there just so I can refer back to where he is on the list. But yeah, it's I mean, Terquavion went back to school as well.
Yep. I mean, Trevion's he has a 9'1" standing reach, 7'3" wingspan. He's best at a 4 if you pair him next to a stretch 5. If he can figure out how to shoot, I think he could have a role just because his passing is so ridiculous and he's a good finisher inside. Like, you see how Montrezl Harrell has had some success as kind of an energy big man.
Hey, speaking of Montrezl Harrell.
Oh, I'm not bringing him up for that reason. Hopefully Trevion Williams ain't trafficking weed or whatever, but 3 pounds of weed. But, yeah, like, I just feel like he could be a good energy big off the bench that presents problems with his passing ability. So that's why I have him mid-second.
Yeah, I don't think he's... I love his passing ability, but that's about all I like about him.
You don't like the way he finishes inside?
I don't think a lot of the ways he finishes are going to work in the NBA. I just think some of his post moves were because he was a lot stronger than a lot of his opponents. He played against a lot of he shared time with Zach Edey, and they kind of played bully ball with the two of them a lot, and I don't know if that's going to work at the next level.
Yeah, I just don't think he's used as much of a post-up guy. I think he's used more as a roll big that short roll play makes or, finishes, and then, some high post stuff, give him the ball at the top of the key. Like, he can do some dribble drive stuff. So if you have a slower backup center, I feel like he can take him off the dribble. He just has to be able to shoot, which is the question mark with him.
And I know you said he had a good wingspan and standing reach, but only being 6'7" at that weight, I just don't like. Unless you're insane athletically like Zion, I just don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you slim him up a little bit, maybe something there. I don't know. I mean, like, I'd have more confidence slimming him up than teaching a big that doesn't know how to pass like him. Right. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes.
He actually got busted in Kentucky, I believe, so it doesn't even matter what team he plays for.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else for the stream, Eric?
No, thank you for watching. Appreciate everyone, and I hope everyone has a good few days.
Yep, we'll catch you again on Thursday. Might have more draft rumors to talk about. We're going to be recapping everything we hear in every stream from now until the NBA draft live stream. We'll be streaming the NBA draft in 10 days. That'll be next Thursday. So obviously, no Blazers Uprise live next Thursday, as we'll have the draft stream, and we'll be streaming for 5 hours over on the main channel. If you're not subscribed to the main channel somehow, Blazers Uprise is the main channel. This is Blazers Uprise Live, in case somehow you were confused or only found our second channel. Stay tuned for a little bit more video content over there on the main channel. And we're out of here. Anyway, that was a little too quick of an outro. Thank you to Caleb for donating, and who else donated, Eric? Was it just Caleb tonight? Somebody else donated.
No, there was other people.
Dang it.
Yeah, you had
try
to
to remember off the top of my head. I wish there was a feed on YouTube, man. It still makes me mad. Anyway, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night. Thank you to everybody who donated.
David Yu or something.
David Yu donated. Yeah. He got that promotion.
So
shout out to him too. So anyway, thank you guys for. If I
That's
forgot your name, apologies. It's not my fault. YouTube doesn't have a dono feed for whatever freaking reason. Anyway, thank you for donating and supporting the channel. Anything else?
No, have a good night, everyone.
Okay, that outro is long enough. We'll catch you whenever we catch you next. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.